We are now live, just waiting for a few people to come in. We have a guest again with us tonight. I'm going to just back in a second. Just posting out the link for our guest. Right, tonight I'm going to be talking about ITC and spirit boxes and communication in general. So, looking forward to this discussion. Joanne B, hello, how are you? Just put up your name there and say hello. Thank you very much for coming on. And I have to put my headphones on.
Yes, I've just put mine on, Sam. Hi, Sam.
Good evening, and good evening all on this lovely Sunday evening. We are streaming live on YouTube right now from Derry City. And today on Have a Seat with Sam, we have Above Paranormal. I had my Chris Hansen jumper on and it was too itchy and I took it off. Do you know? We have a couple of people coming in now. We have Clark 1971, Rainbow Paranormal, Jambon Banana.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. I'm actually going to turn off this computer because it's got a noisy fan. There's no need for all that computer to be on. So just turn that off because the fan was affecting the audio the last time. So I'll just switch that off. Which the mouse doesn't seem to want to work. How are you, Brett, anyway?
I'm fine, thank you. I've just been on Facebook laughing at the various videos of people fighting over toilet paper.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I've just been watching one of a pensioner fighting with a woman. Quite amusing, actually.
You get a lot of those. You get a lot of those videos on Black Friday.
Oh, the world's just gone crazy over toilet paper. Let's be honest, Sam. If you get coronavirus, you ain't gonna die of crapping yourself.
No, I just it's a kind of a strange thing, really. It seems to be a big priority is toilet roll, even though stockpiling food was a thing as well. But the attention seems to be on the toilet roll and that, you know.
Yeah, a friend of mine messaged me yesterday and said that it was baked beans as well. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, you know, if you're worried about toilet paper, baked beans is probably the wrong thing to be buying.
Gee. Well, we had a stream on your channel, and after this stream, I will post that link to that last stream on the end of this one. You know, a great conversation. You know, with your live streams on the topic that you had, and very often the general chat is where a lot of very interesting things comes up and a variety of different topics.
Yeah.
You know, so tonight we decided to talk about spirit boxes and communication generally around the ITC.
Yep.
You know, and the first thing people would come, the first piece of equipment that people would come up with in relation to spirit boxes is the PSP7, which I don't have. I'm actually ordered one, even though I don't particularly like it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I haven't owned one.
Right.
I own the PSP11. For somebody that owns a PSP7, what is the attraction? What is the great advantages of having a PSP7?
Personally, I love mine. I've got to be honest. But mine is actually now built, as you know, into a portal, for want of a better word. I like the fact it's got the white noise on it, even though it's swayed out white noise. I think what it is for me regarding the PSP7 is literally how controllable it is. As you know, I've got a Roberts as well, which I use, but the Roberts I can't vary the sweep rate on, whereas you can vary the sweep rate very easily on the PSP7. I have found as well that a lot of times different locations work better, and this may sound weird to people, at different sweep rates. And not always, not always the same location will have the same sweep rate. But sometimes you find, I've found if the sweep rate's too slow, and I've been picking nothing up in a certain area, if I speed up the sweep rate, communication will improve, and vice versa. So
Yeah,
that is the big plus with them for me is the ability to literally, vary the sweep rates at the click of a button. Like I say, mine is now built into a portal with guitar things, as everybody's seen now. But also the fact it's small and compact as well, so you can literally slip it in your pocket, take it anywhere. The only downside to them is the actual speaker. The internal speaker is absolutely crap on them. You do need some form of plug-in speaker to use a PSP7 well.
yeah. The reason why I brought this up was, every so often I would get a question for somebody that was starting out.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best spirit box? And I would tell them that this is the popular choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would tell them my choice, which wouldn't be the PSP7.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's so popular, I just wanted to get into the mind of somebody that uses one.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I'm buying a spirit box that I don't particularly like. I had one in my hand. I don't like the build quality.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone through 4 generations
Yeah.
and still hasn't improved on the speaker.
Yeah.
I want to know for myself what the advantage of having one is.
See, for me, I don't think there is. A lot of people go over 12587 is the holy grail of spirit boxes. For me, that's total rubbish. I don't think there's any such thing as an holy grail of spirit boxes. I think it's whatever you're comfortable with working with. And like I say, the reason I like the PSP7 is because the ease of use with it, because it is literally just pushing a button and you can quickly vary speed rates and stuff like that. I love my Roberts radio, but it hasn't got quite the control abilities that I've got on the PSP7, literally at the touch of a button.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the PSP7 has its size,
Mm-hmm.
which any small radio that can be hacked ends up being a lot of money
Oh yeah, yeah.
because of because it's compact, and that goes for the 12-587.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my personal favorite is the the Roberts. I cannot remember the I can't remember the serial number, but it's actually, you know, this one here.
That's probably the 9921.
No, it's not.
Oh, isn't it?
No.
The one I use is the 9914. And 9921 seems to be the other popular one that a lot of people use.
Yeah,
But
I have.
to be honest with you, the majority of Roberts can be converted.
Yeah. Some say that the ones with the numbers on the front of it here seem to be the ones that are easier hacked, and ones without the numbers. I don't know.
I've no idea.
I don't know the ins and outs of the electronics or anything like that.
Joanne says your spirit box looks like a speak and spell.
Where's that?
In the comments, Joanne B.
Oh,
says
yeah.
that looks like a speak and spell, Sam Law.
I kind of designed it that way, kind of like, you know, having the bright colors and that, just to make it different, because this actually looked really, really bad when I got it. It looked like something a builder left behind, you know.
Yeah, see, I was lucky with my 9914. There wasn't a mark on it. It was in pristine condition, still in the original box, still got the original charger with it. So I was lucky with mine. I don't have to do anything apart from snip the wire on it.
Yeah.
But like I say, for me, hang on, I've got my spirit box here. I'll share it. That, hang on. As you can see, that is my PSP7. How it sits in the side of my box.
All right.
So it's actually internal. I've got oh god, I hate using this thing back to front. That's all the controls on the back. So most of it is literally worked off the back. But you know, that is actually built internally, and I can just literally pull the aerial up here and everything on it, and it all sits in the box. It's all really compact, that one. But that's actually my portal box. So that one's, you know, fairly easy to use. There's now, but I've actually got it all. That portal is also set up. I can plug an external spirit box in, like the Roberts. Obviously, I wouldn't fit the Roberts inside. What's it?
Yeah. It would be a tight squeeze. Like I have this one, which I kind of made a mistake. There's my noise gate there. The thing is, it's over it's situated over where the original battery box is.
Yeah.
So I converted over to using a 9-volt battery. The only thing is, it chews up a 9-volt battery every half hour or so. So I may have to rethink this configuration even again. So. But I actually had a reverb and I had a equalizer pedal, and I decided to keep it simple and just put a noise gate, because it's got so many built-in features.
Things on the top,
yeah. Even the reverb is pretty good, so I don't feel the need. I need any more. And I felt the clarity was better the less it had to go through.
Yeah.
And actually, the clarity is pretty good on that. And it's reasonably niche, because everything is all black, and you know.
See, I was lucky. You know, Andy from Elemental Encounters built that box for me. I basically just cut the owl out on the front and did the decoration on it, but he actually stripped down the amp. The amp in there is actually stripped out of its case and built directly into the box. So that's why it's a compact down, and that box is literally 20 by 25 centimeters, and you can pick it up with one hand. There's no weight or anything to it, really. All the pedals are external inside it, but they're all accessible from the back, from the outside. Battery boxes are on the outside, apart from the one that powered the amp, and I chose to have that one put inside. But that box is actually powered by 3 separate 9-volt batteries.
Yeah. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with the 9-volt battery powering the pedal, but the fact that, you know, I'm using a powerful amplifier, I'm chewing up a 9-volt battery every half an hour, so I may have to.
I have this one built slightly different to Andy's, because I've actually set mine up so I can plug it into the wall. It can actually be powered off an adapter. And I've also got the headphone socket is on there, which Andy didn't keep on his original one. He took off, but I wanted both the external power and the headphones left on that one. So if ever I used it in the house, I can actually plug it into the wall rather than running it off the battery.
Yeah. Do you know some people look down upon the pedals as something bad because a certain person called Mr. Hupp is associated with it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But if you use these pedals in, don't overuse reverb, don't overuse the noise gate. You can actually use the noise gate to control the volume on the static.
Yeah.
And still let it through, you know?
That is exactly how I run that one. I use the noise gate to just lower the volume of the white noise. I always leave a bit of white noise on there because I think it's important to include in the frequencies. But the reverb, I've only got a very slight touch on the reverb because I find if you put a very slight touch on, it actually sharpens the words up. If you put too much on, so they're flowing one into the next, so that it basically gives it an echoey type effect. I think then you get too much in the realms of pareidolia occurring. I use the reverb to actually sharpen the words rather than make them sound creepy or echoey.
Yeah, I'm just putting up a few people that's come into the chat. Yeah, GS Paranormal, Fearless Afterlife Encounters. I cannot actually see Fearless Afterlife Encounters. I'm going to have to look into that. I had somebody working with me that was a little bit, that has messed up my channel a little bit, and I actually can't see somebody. It's just, some people, so I need to fully look into that. So I will look into that and try and sort it out as best I can. Count Dracula's in the house as well. GS.
It actually sounds quite funny. You're saying that Count Dracula's in the house.
Count Dracula. But you know what attracts you to using Spirit Box? What you know, what's the attraction of using ITC and using the Spirit Box?
I've used Ouija boards for years, since I was about 12, 13. And it's just moving with the technology more than anything else. I tend to be a bit, you know me and my lights, Sam. You know, I'll get Alexa to turn my lights on and off. Anything that makes my life easier, I'll use it. And for me, a Spirit Box is just a more technical version of a Ouija board, which involves less effort on my part. Once it's set up and running, I can just leave it going, you know. Whereas with the Ouija board, you have to sit there with your finger on it and put all the effort in and stuff. So, you know, for me, it's just an extension of using Ouija boards.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we have to look on both sides here. It's had a bit of, it has had a bit of bad press by critics, you know, and there's a number of reasons for that, you know, and I think the first reason for that is a lot of the time these critics, their argument is it's just radio.
Yeah.
But if you ask them, have you used the Spirit Box, and they would probably a lot of the time would say no.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we had a conversation, I think, on your last stream, where I basically says there is a difference between radio that's coming through and the possible responses. There's a difference in tone. There's a difference in speed.
Yeah.
It's sort of more pronounced, but a kind of a lower. There's a kind of a tinny sound, as you explain. There is something.
It's got a very distinctive sound. The best communication comes through. It tends to be a lot quieter than what the normal radio bleed over is, and like you say, it has a really tinny sound to it, and like a very distant sound to it. Anybody who's used spirit boxes for any length of time will come to recognise the sound of this, of this extra communication that comes through. And it's those that tend to be, more along the intelligent responses.
The thing is that realization and that training of the years isn't going to happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It probably is going to take 9 to 12 months.
Yeah.
I'm just putting.
Right. You're right about the Ouija board. It got a bad name. We were talking about this the other night, Friday night. What day is it? Yeah, Friday night on the stream. Me personally, Ouija boards are no different to spirit boxes. I often find it funny when people are doing broadcasts and they start going, "Oh, I've never used a Ouija board, and I'd certainly never use one in my house, and I'd certainly never use one on my own." And then in the very next sentence, they go, "Oh, and now I'm going to do a spirit box session." And to me, I think, well, what you're doing with a spirit box is exactly the same as you would be doing with a Ouija board. The only difference being is Ouija boards have gone through the Hollywood process. Spirit boards are more of a newer thing. I think if ever it gets to the point where there's a major film released where the spirit box itself is featured heavily, I think then to the Joe public, spirit boxes will be on the same footing as Ouija boards.
I was going to say
down to myth and hype.
I was going to say that it's only a matter of time before they jump on the bandwagon. There was a film. A friend of mine told me that there was a film based on someone who died, and they built a robot, and they used a scanning radio as the voice or something like that.
I've actually seen a film, Sam, and I can't remember what it's called, and they're actually using what would be classed as a spirit box, where they tune it to a certain frequency, and then the voices always come through on that frequency. But it is a variance on a spirit box, but that's the only one I've ever actually seen. It was more like an AM radio type thing.
It possibly was the same film that my friend was actually trying to explain to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, like, if Hollywood put that amount of attention into the spirit box as the Ouija board, is, sooner or later, the spirit box is going to be the feared thing.
Yeah. They will be classed exactly the same as Ouija boards. If Hollywood ever release a major horror film based around a spirit box, they would end up being viewed exactly the same as Ouija boards are now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this argument has come up over and over time. We're trying to get communication. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get words from a scanning radio that's producing words, and to the untrained eye, it's basically it's radio.
Yeah. Well, that is how a lot of people would view it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it takes a long time to really tune yourself into it, really. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as we said, there is a different tone.
Yeah, most definitely.
What I looked at was, do you know the way it scans, and then at the end of a word, it's cut off and it goes into a next scan because it's jumping. There's a pattern there.
Yeah.
And then when it goes out of pattern and comes up with slow 3 or 4 words, it disturbs that rhythm.
Yeah.
And that draws your attention, Yeah.
I would say one of the best arguments for it is if you get, say, a sentence that is said over a space of 2 or 3 seconds, which occasionally you can get on a spirit box. You know, it's not always one word replies. Sometimes, as you know, you get complete sentences. If you and the sentence is said in exactly the same voice for the entire duration of whatever is said, the phrase. Now, over 2 seconds, even if you take frequency drift into a consideration, that spirit box has passed through a number of frequencies. There is no way that multiple frequencies would all be broadcasting using the same voice over that complete width of that frequency band that's used during that sentence being said. If it was like words, if it was a sentence where every word was in a different voice, fair enough. You could then say, oh, it's just picking up voices from different stations, and it just so happens that the words picked up have formed a sentence. But if you've got a 3-4 second sentence on a spirit box that is scanning at, say, 50 milliseconds cycles, there is no way that transmission could pick up a 3-4 second sentence all in the same voice. No way.
Yeah. Orbs Realm is in the house. ETA is in the house. Michael Patrick is in the house.
I think my chat stopped working, Sam. Nothing's.
Was it seized?
It's seized up. Yeah, let me just restart my chat. Let's pop it out. Sounds well, doesn't it? Yeah, carry on, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have comments comes into me every so often. Oh, it's just radio and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to add to that argument, what's the point in telling me it's just radio?
Yeah.
You know, tell me why you think it's just radio.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, just don't tell me it's just radio, because I've heard it 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you probably you've seen it in comment. You've seen it in comment sections yourself.
Yeah.
You know, in other streams and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it is a very, very interesting, an interesting part of ITC. I think. You know, the strange thing is, a large majority of people that buy PSP 7s don't even know who Frank Sumption is.
No.
You know, and Frank Sumption was the guy that I think he died in 2005, but between 2003 and 2005, he came up with this system. I think it was to communicate with his dead son, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Or some dead relative, I'm not quite sure.
This was exactly the same with the guy who invented the Mel meter. And that is that is why it's called the Mel meter, because he was using it to contact his daughter. A lot of the main innovations in the paranormal have actually come through people who have been trying to contact dead relatives, particularly dead children. That's right. Children.
Yeah.
The Mel meter is exactly the same.
Yeah, I actually got when I bought my Melmeter, I wrote a comment on Gary Galka's channel saying I just bought my Melmeter and that, and proud to own a nice piece of kit that you invented and all the rest of it. And he replied back and says thanks and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, his daughter died in a car accident.
Yeah.
And over grief, he came up with these devices, you know.
Yeah. Stop propaganda there. Just put, what about the PSP 11? Personally, I can't comment on the PSP 11 because I've never used one. All I've heard of people is that they tend to be a bit noisy, but you can comment on that one, Sam, because you've got one, ain't you?
Yeah, a PSP 11 is 2 PSP 7s installed in a case. No, they're not fully joined together, because actually they have two separate two separate jacks, and as far as I know, two separate speakers in that. but they can be run alongside each other, and that was just it was like everything else. It's an experimental piece of kit. I don't use it for that. I use it on a certain frequency. I use it on, I think it's AM, but there's a hack mode for it. The reason why, the PSP 11 was supposed to be a replacement for the PSP 7. It was supposed to be the next best thing. And Ghost Adventures, knowing Gary Galka, they were pushing this new product. But then eventually went back to the PSP 7, and possibly because it was too noisy. But there's somebody did find a hack, and it was a girl called Unicorn Tree Magical World. And it's just a matter of, when you turn it on, to press a few buttons, and it cuts out a lot of the static. It's still a bit it's still a bit noisy in that, but I can use it with noise gate. But up until I found that hack, I found it a kind of a very, very hard to use box. And one of the reasons why I asked you about the PSP 7 for beginners was, I was just wondering, because you have to listen really, 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 really hard, and there's a lot of static coming through and all the rest of it. Surely some of these other hack boxes, like the Roberts, might be a better option.
But then again, Sammy, even with an app radio, you're still getting the static in between it picking up stations. So you're never totally free of static anyway. And for me, for people who know anything about the history of ITC, originally all ITC communication was done with white noise devices. There was no radio stations involved at all. It was all done via voices coming through walls of static white noise. And this is, for me, what I always say, you should always include at least a little bit of white noise on your portal, even with a noise gate. Have some of it still bleeding through, because I personally believe that those frequencies can still be manipulated by and I won't say it's dead people, because we don't know. But whatever is communicating with us, if it's manipulating the frequencies of the radio, it can also manipulate the frequencies of the white noise. And if you take the original experiments into consideration, all they were using was white noise, and they were still getting complete sentences coming through on nothing but white noise.
Yeah, a lot of the older researchers based their research on white noise and the static from radio. The only I wouldn't even call him a researcher, to be honest with you, but Steve Huff believes in the opposite theory, that white noise makes communication worse. So, these older researchers that have been doing it for 30 or 40 years, saying white noise is what they use, and a guy that's been doing it for 7 or 8 years and has been caught lying and doing a few, dodgy things, saying white noise makes communication worse. What you need is clear, concise audio.
Well, which, in cases like that, Sam, all I can say is they're basically showing their ignorance to the total history of what ITC. Because if they go back to the grassroots of ITC, it was conducted with nothing but white noise.
Yeah, I do have one of those white noise generators actually, that I actually used after class in school. And it's to do with different frequencies and stuff like that. And you see, people here on YouTube, they would believe somebody that has 1 million subscribers above somebody that has 272 subscribers, which is Annabella Cardoso. and she only uploads every 4 or 5 months, and it's not entertaining, if you know what I mean. It's not a sit down and look with a packet of popcorn, but the information that she gives to us is so special.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a big massive difference. But when it comes to YouTube, which is an entertaining platform, a lot of these older researchers are lost in that, because at the end of the day, their priority, they were doing this way before the internet.
Well, okay. Somebody outside.
Yeah, they were doing this way before the internet,
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of these
Quiet. Well, you'll go back in the kitchen.
A lot of these researchers were French and Italian, and a lot of that information is still not translated into English. There's a lot of research out there in France and Italy and that, and a lot of the stuff that Marcello Bacci done, and it hasn't been translated into English, so we don't know what's in it.
Fearless has put, but a lot of big channels get there by bullshitting and entertaining rather than being truthful, and that is exactly the point, Fearless. I've got to be honest, the vast majority of channels what claim to be that actually claim to be paranormal channels are more entertainment channels. They're more concerned, and this is probably going to sound a bit bad from my point of view, but they are more concerned with entertaining their viewers than they are with paranormal accuracy. Would you agree with that, sir?
Yeah. I mean, like, what we're looking at here is, we're looking at YouTube. They give you guidelines. To work on. A video, about 20 minutes, half an hour is the right length of time. And to have something exciting.
You do realise we're going to have to discuss necrophonic in a minute, Sam. They're talking about it in the
it has come up all right there, but I missed most of it.
We'll get on to necrophonic in a minute, then.
Yeah, we'll talk about apps as well. I mean, like, YouTube is trying to find that balance of being a YouTuber and being a paranormal investigator. What comes first? Some of us, it's the paranormal. Others, it's the YouTube. But YouTube has given people the opportunity to do what they love and turn it into a job.
Yeah.
But there is a risk of losing your credibility. For the try to climb up this ladder of YouTube, as some people try to do. So your clickbait titles come in, and you're tagging famous TV programs and stuff like that. All these little tricks start coming in, and soon you end up, you want more and more and more, and you end up pushing the boundaries further until you possibly could cross the line. In the paranormal, once you fake once or twice, you basically had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop propaganda's put there. Wouldn't straight white noise give all frequencies at the same time? That would make things difficult if unknown energies use specific frequencies to communicate. Couple of things with that. One, we have absolutely no idea how they do it. We're just going on the presumption that they're manipulating frequencies. I don't think they're actually limited to a specific range. I think they've got the ability to manipulate any frequency. And if you've ever listened to any ITC work done on a full white noise setup, what is said is distinctly clear from the background white noise. So basically, it does give the impression that they are just pulling. If anything, white noise is easier for them to manipulate because they can just pull whatever parts of the frequency they need out of white noise at that moment to produce the sounds they want. Whereas if you take it from a radio broadcast type of thing, they have got to wait until certain frequencies are broadcast by the radio. Whereas with white noise, it's a constant wall of frequencies all the while. So I presume in doing it via the radio broadcast method of modern spirit boxes is probably more difficult than if it was solely using a wall of white noise.
Yeah. Yeah. We go on to the subject of applications.
Go on, Sam. It's right, I was just reading all Drum's comments. Yeah, I totally agree with that, old Drum. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I've been sent on many events to share the truth or using a method that just opens people's eyes. See, I've always said, no matter how unlikely something you're doing concerning the paranormal, if you're getting results from it, let people know about it. If they want to ridicule you for it, let them. Because you never know, that could be the breakthrough that provides proof of something.
Yeah. Well, order of magnitude says if you want to be honest on YouTube, consider yourself very, very lucky to get 4,000 subscribers or in and around that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm not really that bothered. We have a community around these little small, channels, and that's sort of good enough for me. I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm not a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, the actual group of people on YouTube who are actually interested in the paranormal for the paranormal itself is considerably smaller than the group of people who are on YouTube looking for the next bit of drama or current buzzword or the next jump scare or whatever. They're the type of people who think paranormal investigation is ghost adventures and most haunted and things like, which ain't a bad thing. I've got nothing against paranormal entertainment as it is, but the thing that knocks me is people who are catering to that particular larger crowd and not necessarily being one moral in what they're doing by portraying what they're doing as genuine paranormal investigation, because it's not. They're just going and hoping a ghost is going to appear or pop up to frighten the viewers, and if it doesn't, a lot of them will actually make out that they're off. Whereas the smaller core of the paranormal community that are interested in the paranormal itself, they're not looking for the jump scares and stuff like that. They're looking for the proof of the actual paranormal.
Yeah.
And it like you say, Sam, I think if you're genuinely a paranormal research channel, I would say to anybody, don't expect to be getting any more than 4K of subs on your channel, because after that, it's plainly obvious that you're appealing to the entertainment crowd, and that is going to affect your channel content.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Count Dracula 666 for I got caught up my words. Count Dracula 666 for subscribing. Thank you very much. Welcome to the community. That's what
Even
I can say.
She's just called you Count Dracula.
Count Dracula. There was a
Disney character.
Yeah. Count Dracula. Yeah. Yeah. And with with ITCs, you've got the app people and you've got the radio people,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got both. If you, it's in some cases you've got both, but very often you got the app people
Mm-hmm.
and you got the Spirit Box people.
So
You know,
are we going to get into the dreaded subject of apps?
yes, it's actually kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually kind of interesting because not very many people have seen a lot of these older researchers,
Mm-hmm.
but they believe. Do you know when you're doing an EVP session? I don't do EVP sessions. EVP recording,
Mm-hmm.
recording for uh, record direct 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 recording for
Yeah.
spur communication.
Yeah.
That's the way. I don't do spur. I don't do EVP sessions.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to work for me, and everybody seems to
Me
be.
either, to be honest with you.
It's too much. It's too much of a small net.
Yeah.
Me,
Yeah. I
me.
mean, the only time I've ever got any decent results via EVP was like when we did the Fairy Garden earlier in the late last year, and I basically set the recorder up at the beginning of the investigation and left it propped up against a tree and just left it for the entire investigation.
Yeah.
You know, if I stand there and go, "Can you tell me what your name is?" Pause. Did you die here? Pause. How old are you? Pause. Never get any results at all. But I actually got some quite good results when we left the recorder running for the complete time we were there.
Yeah, it's harder work, but
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it.
Yeah, it was a
You
pain
know?
in the neck having to listen to hours of recordings when I got home, but it was worth it in the end.
Yeah. The reason why I came up with the recordings is these researchers,
Mm-hmm.
they used recordings, but they used background audio support, like the
Mm-hmm.
sound of birds, the sound of wind, the
Mm-hmm.
sound of thunder,
Yeah,
sound of water, and the
yeah.
sound of radio static, which
Mm-hmm.
Annabella Cardoso says the radio white noise is actually the best noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's kind of it kind of it kind of links apps in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when you think about it, because they're using background audio support,
Mm-hmm.
apps are using banks of sound,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of the recording, they're looking for direct communication
Mm-hmm.
and manipulation of that bank of
Mm-hmm.
sound.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is,
So we're going to do it, Sam. Let's get on to the subject of apps because we're skirting around it.
there was an app we were both told about, which was called the
Radio Spirit Box 2.
Radio Spirit Box 2, and it gave us the impression that it scanned radio frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked into it, there was only about four different sounding voices in it. They were all American.
Yeah.
While this little screen was showing you frequencies and megahertz and all the rest of it,
It
there
was,
was
it was
no.
basically showing that it was scanning our FM bands, wasn't it? That was what it was showing.
Yeah, but that to me, I think that's a fake because
Yeah, I don't think it was, but that was the impression it was trying to give you, that it was actually scanning the radio FM bands when in fact it was using sound banks.
Yeah, and what gave me alarm bells was there was three or four different voices, and that's all it was.
Yeah.
There was no ad breaks. There was no songs. It was just people calling out a couple of words. To me, it was based on a sort of a random word generator, and I was just flicking out words with different voices. Hello.
So, what is your opinion on apps, Sam?
I prefer not to use them because now, I'm only putting an opinion out there.
Yeah.
you know, I can go down the route of experimenting with them, but I wouldn't experiment with phone apps because very often a lot of these apps, the banks are completely sealed shut. We can't see what's on them.
Yeah, yeah.
If I got ambient noise from YouTube and recorded it and put it on an SD card and recorded that back and got manipulation of that sound,
Yeah.
I can go to the original file and compare it to the recording, which you can't do on the apps. You know, that's where I have my sort of problems with those. You know, the other thing is there's good apps out there, there's bad apps out there, and finding the good and the bad is pretty difficult because there's a complete and utter minefield out there now.
Yeah. Right now, I don't use. I've only ever used I used the Paratech app once in an investigation just to try to see what came out, and that is more like an obelisk than a spirit box. But in terms of spirit box apps, I've got a number of problems with them. One is that the vast majority of the sound banks on apps for spirit boxes have a very heavy bias of words towards things that are paranormal relevant. Like the word ghost pops up a lot. The word poltergeist, the word demons, the words evil, that kind of words. And they are also loaded with a lot of names. So, people are going to start identifying with names that are coming through because these apps, these sandbanks, normally one of the banks is literally just a complete list of names that are randomly spewed out. And let's be honest, everybody, when you've got something that's constantly spewing out names, it's going to resonate with people listening to it. Most people know a Tracy or something like that, and as soon as it comes out, they can do with it. What my biggest issue with apps is the way that they actually do the sound. It's not random. They are programmed to spit something out every few seconds, regardless.
Yeah.
Whether it's relevant or not. And I've noticed that, particularly a lot lately, a lot of people are going to the apps because if you use a spirit box, a conventional spirit box, the communication tends to be a lot slower. On your average spirit box, you are not getting something spit out that spirit box once every 1 or 2 seconds, where you tend to with these apps. So the apps give the opinion or the impression that you're actually getting more communication, when in effect all you're getting is just the app doing its job of spitting stuff out, every few seconds. That is the word bank ones. The phonetic ones like necrophonic, I have got an even bigger issue with. As I've put examples on various posts the last few days, phonetic phrases, as I put on yours today with the demon, Sam. Demon is broken down phonetically into D and Mon. So if D and Mon, you put them in that order, it comes out as demon.
Yeah.
You reverse those two phonetic phrases, it then comes out as Mondi. Now, most people listening to a spirit box to a spirit box like Necrophonics would then automatically, via pareidolia, straight away presume that it said Monday rather than Mondi.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at.
But in that particular case, if it was completely reversed, the actual word would be reversed as well. So it would sound completely different.
No. All it does, the way it just strings these phonetic phrases together. That's how necrophonic works. Yeah. So demon is actually two separate phonetic phrases. The first part being D, the second part being Mon. D and Mon are two separate phonetic phrases. So if you put them in the order that it's demon, you got the D first and then the Mon second, it says demon. If you put them the other way around, so Mon comes first and then D, it comes out as Mondi. So most people think straight away that it's saying Monday, when it's not. It's actually saying Monday.
Yeah.
And this is where the pareidolia comes into with phonetic banks. You've also got the effect that with phonetic phrases, the majority of combinations of phonetic phrases will always make a word, or nearly always. Plus, add that on top that the apps are spitting them out at such massive frequency, you have then got a massive case of pareidolia, and also a massive case where communication is appearing to be a lot more rapid than it actually is. Should say NOMED. And this is the problem, Midnight. This is the problem, because the necrophonic, it is not 99% of the time with necrophonic, and I know this is going to be a bit controversial with supporters of the necrophonic app, but 99% of stuff that comes out of necrophonic is not genuine communication. It's just this rapid spitting out of phonetics combining to make words.
Yeah, he
No,
did.
I'm just using the word demon as an excuse to show you how phonetics works, Midnight.
Yeah.
I have a demon and devil come out multiple times on sessions that people have used necrophonics on. And again, there is no randomness. There's no randomness with these apps. They tend to spit out at a regular. It's like almost like a pulse. Bum 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 bum. Constant phonetics, or a constant word slapping out. People say, "Oh, but I've got intelligent responses on necrophonic." I don't dispute their argument, and I'm not saying that necrophonics doesn't work, because I'm of the opinion anything that's putting out sound has a chance of being manipulated.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is 99% of what necrophonic puts out is false positives. It literally is false positives, basically by the sheer amount of combinations in such a short space of time that these apps chuck out. Yeah. You know, you could sit on a spirit box, Sam, and not hear something for 30 seconds. I'll guarantee you, if you turn an app on, you're getting something coming out that app every few seconds. Every few seconds there'll be a noise or a word coming out of it. And this is why a lot of people tend to use them, because they give a false and inaccurate impression that they are providing much greater communication. Now, the best bet is when, say, a channel starts off doing a spirit box session, and they're not getting much coming through the spirit box. So they go, "Oh, I'll try an app now." They put the app on, and all of a sudden they're getting these responses every few seconds. Now, if there's something there communicating with you, it's got access to a spirit box. It will communicate through that spirit box as easily as it would through an app, if we believe that they're manipulating sound. Because you're getting it a lot more frequent, it's not because the spirits have suddenly decided the app is working better. It's because the app is just churning out a constant stream of sound. And it gives the misconception that you're getting a lot of communication through an app, when in reality, you're getting a vast majority of false positives coming through.
Yeah. The other side of it is actually, I seen an investigating group, and they were in here in the chat earlier on. They got into a situation where they went to a location and they got set up. There was a couple of things in this particular location that was set up before the investigation, and the investigators, the main investigators, the owner of the investigating group, didn't know anything about this. And he goes in and he turns on his app, and he says, "Who did this?" And next thing, it came out with a name. That name was one of the other investigators. Then I took a picture of some writing on the wall. I compared it to a birthday card that I got, and it matched. That was to me, that blew me away.
See, like like I say, I'm not saying that these apps don't work, because I'm of the opinion anything that is spitting out sound has got the potential to work. All I'm saying is that apps give the false impression that they are providing more communication than they actually are, basically on the fact that they are constantly chucking sound out every few seconds, rather than our conventional spirit box where it tends to be a bit slower.
Do you know what would make it an awful lot easier is if the bank was running and had a timer on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say it goes 2
Yeah.
minutes, 48 seconds, and so many milliseconds. And you could get into that original bank.
Mm-hmm.
If something came up, you could go into the original bank and go to that exact time
Yeah.
and see if there's anything different there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's apps could be so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end,
the only problem you've got is they're actually stored as a collection of sound files, and these apps are supposedly randomly picking a random. I presume the way they work is they generate a random number, and then that number is then compared to a list of words that have each got an independent number assigned to them, and whatever that random number is, it says the word that's also linked to that number. So, number one would be ghost, number two would be poltergeist, and then if the random generator said two, it would throw out poltergeist. But you've also got to take into consideration the bias of the sound banks, where that a lot of them, that demon and devil and ghost and poltergeist and spirits and all that, it's all those kind of words are featured extensively in the bank.
Yeah.
You're already dealing with a limited amount of audio, but not only a limited amount of audio, it's also a limited amount of audio that is biased directly to the subject. If Andy from Elemental Encounters put on your thing this morning a very good opinion, because what Andy and Becky do, they don't believe in spirits and ghosts and stuff. And Andy has stated in the last 2 years he has never had the word ghost or spirit or demon come through his spirit box. Where he said if he put an app on, he could pretty much guarantee within a few minutes he'd probably get, ghost or demon or something come through an app. And that is because it's the false positives that are coming through. It's not the communication. It's very interesting to note that because, he hasn't had either demon or ghost come through his spirit box in 2 years, because he deals with the Fae. Everything that's come through his spirit box has been in relation to the Fae. You see what I'm saying? So if he got an app and then suddenly started getting words like demon and ghost coming through, it's easier for him to prove, because he doesn't normally deal with ghosts and demons and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. But, looking at all this, I was thinking, would it not be just better to put different ambient sounds, chop them up, put them on a file on your computer, copy them onto an SD card, play them through a little speaker box that plays in the SD card, and if anything happens, you can go back to the original file and see if there's any spirit manipulation there. Because there's a big controversy over this reversed audio theory, and people are saying, this reversed audio works with the reversed audio pedal, but nobody is showing that if you play a backwards file backwards, it will play forwards, and you'll be able to prove if there's manipulation there.
See, it depends on what you believe on how ITC works. For me personally, I believe they work directly with the frequencies of the sound. So it doesn't matter whether those sounds are being played forwards or backwards, as long as they've got access to a frequency, they can make use of it. Something played backwards could hit the same frequency as something being played forwards. So,
Yeah.
forwards and backwards has got absolutely no relevance to what I believe with ITC. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether you're playing sounds forwards or backwards. It's not the actual words they're manipulating, it's the frequencies of the sound itself. That is how I believe ITC works.
Yeah. But I suppose apps, like everything else, as an experimental tool, there'll be advancements.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and I would like.
I've got no problem with people using apps.
No.
But what I have got a problem with is people not being aware that apps. We know spirit boxes are subject to pareidolia and misinterpretation. People need to realise and recognise that apps have a far greater propensity to actually be false positives and stuff, solely on the fact that they actually generate far in excess of what a spirit box generates in terms of sound. Like I say, your spirit box is very sporadic with things coming through. Your app is constantly spewing stuff out. So, there's a greater chance there for the false positives and for the pareidolia to kick in. Yeah. Especially when they all start whacking echo and stuff onto them, which a lot of these apps do. They seem to be fond of putting echo on. The second you put echo onto any type of word or sound, you immediately increase the potential for pareidolia through the roof.
Yeah.
You really do. And this is why old MP3 recorders work so well for EVP, and why the DR60 is so successful, because the sound is so distorted from its original source. The chance for pareidolia to take place just soars through the roof.
Yeah. Midnight Paranormal says the old radio dial radios work great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like before hacked radios, and even now I still use them. I actually have a similar radio. It's way up there. I can't bring it down, but it's a similar radio to Marcello Bacci had.
Mm-hmm.
Where he used to have his gatherings and stuff like that. And I bought that because, I love Marcello Bacci's work, even though I don't understand a word he's saying. Mm-hmm. But I wanted one of those radios, and I have one. But I use a manual scan radio.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see Mark Smith, I don't, I'm not going to say whether I like or dislike Mr. Mark Smith, but he's using a radio that he bought in Tesco's. And because he gets a lot of criticism, people are criticizing his method. Oh, that's fake, and he's using that so it can be changed that it's saying a certain thing, and he's using the dial. There's no way he can use the dial to bring it out a certain word because it's random radio.
Yeah.
Proven Demons, the same thing. I have one of his boxes. I have a handle on it.
No problem, Joanne.
And it works.
Yeah. So Joanne says she ain't feeling too well.
I hope you
feel better, Joanne.
Better soon.
Manual tuners again is something that I think is personal experience. Personally, I don't use them. Not because I don't think they work. It's because I don't trust myself, Sam. Because, I think human psychology kicks in a bit more so with manual tuners. And if I was spinning a dial and I suddenly heard something, whether I wanted to or not, I think I would mentally pause on it, even if it was for a fraction of a second. I think, knowing my personality, as soon as I heard something, even if I didn't deliberately do it, I think I'd just stop for a fraction. And for me, that would be corrupting the data. That is why I personally don't use a manual tune. But I've got no problem with manual tunes. I just think they're a little bit more susceptible to human error than an automatic scan.
It's a workout for the fingers. That's certainly the case.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you've also got to take the operator into, because I'm naturally curious. The second I heard something, I'd momentally stop, whether I meant to or not. It'd be a subconscious thing. I'd stop to listen to it. That's why I don't use manual tunes. But that's my personality. It's nothing to do with manual tuning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, an old Marcello Bacci type radio, and I got it over from Italy, and just purely for the history of that ITC research, you know, it's a lovely piece. It's an old valve wooden radio.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't use it every day because it just, if something goes in it, it's very, very hard to get fixed.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a Philips or a Brother where you can get parts for it. It's an Italian brand radio, you know.
It would actually be nice to see a lot more of the old radios being used, but like you say, they won't be because of the rarity of the parts and stuff for them now. You know, if one of them valves goes, you've got absolutely no way of replacing it, probably.
Yeah. There was a point made earlier on about, you know, the analog recording, and it just reminded me of somebody who was sort of trying to think outside the box. He was saying, "Do you know what would be an interesting experiment is to take apart a cassette tape and roll the cassette tape across a haunted location like a graveyard or whatever, and leave it there for a while, and then roll it back up and see
if anything was recorded on it."
Yeah, you know, I mean, like, it's good sort of thinking. Do you know? Don't know if it'll work, but the fact that he actually thought of it was great.
Yeah. Are you all right for a second, Sam? Because I'm just going to go and sort something out in the kitchen for about 2 minutes.
All right, the gravy.
I'll just mute my camera and turn my camera off. I'll be back in about 2 minutes.
That's grand. That's grand. That's grand. I'll just say hello to a few people while I have a chance here, you know. Right. Oh, God. Can you spell Marcello's channel? I understand Italian. Just don't ask me to speak it. Marcello Bacci never had a channel. He was a researcher from way back, I think, you know, from the 1960s to 70s, and basically he was like a miracle worker in the village that he lived in Italy, and every week there would be gatherings in the local hall where he would sit down to this military radio, and people could hear their loved ones speak to them, and it was a weekly gathering, and you know, he was looked up upon, but never, you know, when it came to publicity or anything like that, he was a very humble man. So, you know, anything that is on YouTube is coming from someone else. You know, the scroll experiment. There was a part of the documentary where he was actually in it, where the people from the experiment went over to Italy to meet Marcello Bacci, which would have been a fantastic thing, you know. Do you know? And a lot of the stuff from Marcello Bacci is still in Italian. It was never translated into English. So unfortunately, we did try. When I was at school, my science teacher was a big fan of Marcello Bacci, and that's how I ended up having to work in the laboratory after school. And we pretended to the headmaster that I'd been held back for extra classes or something like that. But you know, we were working with white noise and static and stuff like that, and working on recordings. And I actually built a radio at home with no radio stations in it. It was an old car radio, a manual dial car radio. And once the antenna was plugged out of it, there was absolutely nothing but white noise, you know. And that radio is still at home somewhere in my home place, you know. That was a camera film. Yeah, it was the scroll experiment. They actually had the 35 millimeter a film still in the box, still sealed and that, and then they put it into a little box and they padlocked it and that. But it would be interesting to roll out the film and just lay it down and see what comes up image-wise that way. Orbs Realm says, that sounds familiar, Sam. I recall somebody doing this with camera film. Interesting.
Yeah, there's been experiments in the past with spirit photography where they've locked photographic film inside dark boxes and pictures are formed in the dark.
That's right. I was just actually saying that. From the scroll experiment.
Mm-hmm.
HSFL from the United States of America. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah.
I wonder if CB radio can pick up something. We were actually discussing this on my channel. Was it last week, Sam? The week before, we were discussing CB radio. I used to be a big CB fan, and looking back on it now, there were things that I heard on that CB late at night when the channels were quiet, that looking back on it now could quite have easily have been what people now consider as communication.
Yeah, my uncle was big into extraterrestrials, and along with being a amateur radio operator, his fascination was audio sounds that were sort of possible extraterrestrials. So, you know, I went into that area as well. I used CB radios and channels and just listened to static and stuff like that as part of my research from a long time ago.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like a lot of, I don't know if you could call them researchers now. A lot of people just want to buy a PSP7 and a few bits and pieces and go out and ghost hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to call myself a ghost hunter.
I always think the term's a bit funny because it gives the impression you're going out there with a gun to do something.
Yeah, hunting for ghosts.
Yeah, ghost hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, I would rather just consider myself as a researcher, but I'm really glad that I'm gone full circle now with the technology age, because there's a lot more things open for us,
Yeah.
Yes, people are walking away from them old ideas, but the old ideas have some sort of connection with what we're doing now,
Yeah.
And sometimes to get an idea of what we're actually doing now, sometimes we have to take a step backwards.
Yeah.
When it comes to the old analog tapes and the old white noise machines and stuff.
This is another thing. I think since the digital age, I think we've lost a lot of the quality we had from the old analog stuff, especially in terms of things like pictures, because digital pictures are a lot easier to manipulate than the old photographing methods were. Plus, with pixelization and stuff like that, it leads to a lot of pareidolia cropping up.
Yeah.
I've always said, for something to be proven fully now, it'd have to be something like a ghost fully materializing in the middle of a football match in front of thousands of people witnessing it. Because we all know that photoshopping videos as well as images is really easy nowadays.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of important now to have as best quality imaging and voice recording as you possibly can. There's a lot of people that are using these Olympus. I can't. Oh, there they are. One of these on the lowest possible settings. Yes, it produces internal noise when it's struggling at that low bit rate, and possibly that noise can produce EVPs. But when you go through to analyze it through software, it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
It makes it an awful lot different. With the good quality, quality recording, you have an awful lot more to work with.
Yeah, well, I've done it in the past where I've used my my Tascam DRL5 in .wav format and a cheaper MP3 recorder where I've recorded, say, swishing a Saturn type jacket and then playing it back on the Tascam with the .wav format. You can distinctly hear that it's actually material swishing. If you then listen to it on the MP3 recorder, because the MP3 format has compressed so much of the sound and lost so much of the quality, it's easily mistaken for some words being whispered. And this is why I say, when you're doing any form of audio recording, do it on the highest possible quality you can do it on. Because the lower the quality, the greater the chance of pareidolia. And this is why things like the DR60 are so popular, because they actually give the impression that they're picking up more communication than they actually are, when in effect it's just pareidolia. It's a pareidolia down to bad recording quality.
Yeah, people think that the DR60 theory came from Steve Hope. Actually, it spans a long time before that. It actually spans when the recorder went into production. There was secretaries, there was people using these at meetings and stuff like that, and then playing them.
This is what I said, Sam. There was thousands of secretaries worldwide being growled at by demons if the DR6 is to believe.
Did you ever see Mark Smith his live stream when he bought the DR60?
No.
And he was doing the sessions in his house. I was crying laughing. He was there. He was, the usual EVP sessions. Hello, is there anyone there? And what's your name? And all the rest of it. And then he plays it back and goes, guys, what the hell is that? This growling noise and stuff. Guys, I'm terrified right now. That's scary. And there was another stream following that way down the line. Somebody asked him, "Where's your DR60?" Oh, I sold it. I was terrified of it. I said, well, if you're paranormal research, why would you be flipping scared of it? Wouldn't you want to research it more?
Exactly. Bro, I've always had this mental picture where the DR60 is concerned. Sam, thousands of secretaries worldwide sitting in their offices, typing up the dictation, and suddenly start having conversations with Satan on the DR60.
Yeah, I mean, there is part of it where the internal white noise, can produce the EVPs. And if anybody wants to go down that route and experiment, you're free to experiment. Nobody's going to. But what I would ask is, if you want to use a low bit recorder, back it up with a good quality recording. And if something interesting comes up, try and match it up with what is recorded on another recorder, because sometimes a shuffle sounds like a word on a low bit.
And especially things, with modern day jackets, they're made of nylon and stuff like that. Like I say, if you record the swishing of a jacket on an high quality recorder, you can tell it's the swishing of material. If you record it on an MP3 recorder, 9 times out of 10, it will actually sound like whispering. Words being whispered. And it's a lot of the less, shall we say, reputable teams know this and have used it to their advantage.
Yeah, that's why you see a lot of teams, right? When they do their uniforms and that, they'll
Mm-hmm.
have a soft hoodie,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll wear soft shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
And wear tracksuit bottoms.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that makes too much noise.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of them seems to go down. They like to have wear uniforms, because if they go into an official place, they can say, "Well, I'm part of the team," just in case anybody stray comes in. It's nice to have a little uniform with your logo on it, and it's a bit of advertisement for what you're doing and all the rest of it. But very often, it's material that doesn't make noise.
Yeah,
And
but I always say to people, if they want to buy a decent quality digital recorder, go for the Tascam DR05. You can record in studio quality WAV format, and they cost you between £70 and £75, which most people will pay for a mid-range MP3 Olympus, and you'll get a massive improvement on your sound. The only downside to it is you'll also get a massive reduction on your EVPs, because a lot of what your MP3 player will be mistaken for as EVP communication will actually be revealed as any everyday sounds on your Tascam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Tascam can indicate the slightest little shuffle.
Yeah, I always say can hear a mouse fart from 20 feet away.
Yeah. I mean, like those recorders have got so good that actually, people used to use parabolic microphones and don't need to use them now, because some of the recording equipment is so good now.
But it's actually the MP3 format itself that's the problem. It actually, by its very nature and the way it works, it actually compresses the data, so you lose the quality. So no matter how good the quality of the microphone itself is, the format itself lets the recording down. That's why, I always say recording .wav format. MP3 format is too compressed.
Well, I was under the impression that along with the compression, it discards certain frequencies that are not needed.
That's part of the compression stuff. It cuts off certain frequencies, so you lose sound quality from all areas.
And most likely, what's going to be sacrifices to low tones, where normally that's where you get your EVPs and stuff. Yeah.
Hang on, let me just put that. I'll put it in the what's it for Tascam DR05. I've got one. I believe you've got one as well, ain't you? Well, you've got two different Tascams, ain't you, Sam? But you'll normally buy them. You'll buy them in the UK for around about £75, which is basically the price of a mid-range Olympus. And they actually they use a wide orientated microphone setup. They are absolutely fantastic recorders.
Yeah, my first recorder was that one there, but as far as I know, it's just MP3. As far as I know. So I went and started buying different recorders. But my main recorder is the Tascam DR05.
That's the one I always use. The good thing about the Tascam as well, you can actually record on two separate channels with it. So if I'm doing Spirit Box sessions, one of the things you can do, and all you need to do is buy a cheap splitter that you plug into the microphone socket, and it splits the left and right channels off. I use a lavalier mic in the left channel, and I plug my Spirit Box directly into the right hand channel. And then when I'm doing Spirit Box sessions, if I accidentally talk over a response, you can stick the recording into something like Audacity, and when you've accidentally talked over a response on the Spirit Box, because your words are being recorded on the one channel and the Spirit Box on the other, you can literally just drop the volume of the left channel, so you can still hear the exact thing that the Spirit Box said, and takes your voice straight out of it. That is
Right.
another good feature of the Tascam. It allows you to record the left and right channels on separate tracks.
I need to take more time to
Yeah.
look at it an awful lot more. I haven't even read the instructions manual.
Yeah, that is a brilliant feature of the Tascam. So if you do accidentally speak over a response, you can just stick it in Audacity and just drop the volume of the left channel where your voice is on through the mic, and just play the bit the Spirit Box played.
I thought mine was nearby. It is actually nearby, I think. Yeah. That's the Tascam
DRO5.
Yeah, and it's just a little bit more than your run of the mill Olympus or anything like that. The other popular one is actually the Zoom H1.
Yeah.
But I find the
quality on the Tascam is far superior to the Zoom.
Oh, big time, yeah. Big time. Oops. I just dropped another recorder. I need to pick it up. Oh.
That's that one broke, is that?
No, the back just came off it. It's one of these. It's one of these ones that everybody seems to be using that I don't use very often now because I use this with background audio support, rather than using low bit rate, Oh, Panasonic DR60.
Yeah, stop again. I wanted to know what the noisy one was called. Basically, what it does stop is it actually records electronic interference generated by its own internal circuit boards, and it basically just records this really ominous growling sound that people used to put down, and some people still do claim is demons growling. When all it's basically doing is recording its own internal workings, and it was actually recalled, and the model was stopped production by Panasonic because it was a design fault.
Yeah, the next version of it was this QR80, and there's a disclaimer on the back of it.
Oh, is that?
I can't remember exactly what it says, and I can't read it right now. But it basically is saying it's
It probably just
complies
says
with
Panasonic does not claim responsibility for any demons growling through this recorder.
something like that, actually, something like that, because on the Japanese one it doesn't actually say anything. There is this other disclaimer on the American version. And they're the two of the same recorders.
Yeah.
But back in the early 90s, that was actually a pretty neat piece of kit because how thin it is and everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that they actually made a radio, that the Pana box that people are trying to get their hands on for nearly $2,000, which when it hacked, as far as I know, when it's hacked, it only hacks in AM.
Right. So you can't use the FM band on it.
No, I don't think so. But the fact that they actually fitted a radio into one of those in the early 90s is pretty spectacular, But that was my early days of. I wanted to try everything, and I had an opportunity of buying these, and I got them, and I don't normally use them much anymore. Whether I'll keep them or sell them, I don't know. Just put them back in the box in case they get broke.
Sam, I can only be on for about another 10-15 minutes. Up until about 8 o'clock, so I've got to start getting ready for my card stream after and stuff.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I'm streaming again later.
I forgot about that actually. I forgot about that. Looking forward to that. We are going to we can finish up now, but if you haven't subscribed to Above Paranormal, please consider doing so and come over and join us on a Above Paranormal stream. Um, you do the cards and you do a general chat afterwards.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, we do on a Sunday. We do a card reading session, and then we do just a general. Well, it starts off as a paranormal discussion, and then normally ends up in the gutter somewhere. And it's
yes, it can. The last stream was hilarious.
Yeah,
Because I'm likely to come out with all sorts of stuff.
we don't take it seriously at the end. It's just a chill out session.
Yeah, but
Friday nights we do a specific topic of the paranormal. I normally have Andy from Elemental Encounters on, and Sam, if I can get in touch with her during the week. This Friday just gone, we discussed familiars and fetches, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which was one that not many people have actually done.
I didn't know anything about it myself.
Yeah, because I'm a paranormal channel, I do branch out into other things paranormal, like UFOs and Bigfoot and stuff like that. I'm not specifically just along the spirity type things. I'll branch out into anything.
Yeah.
We do once a month. We do an IU psychic quiz as well. Then with Sam.
That's right.
Sam was reigning champion last month, but unfortunately she lost a crown this month.
Oh, I crashed and burned big time.
Yeah, you did this month. You did extremely well the month before. So we tend to do that in the last Friday of every. We're going to be doing that last Friday of every month. So you're welcome to come and see how psychic you are and try and claim the crown for that month.
Yeah.
I also run the little gambling games in the chat. Don't cost you any money. It's all done with virtual points and stuff. But people always find that popular as well. Yeah. Becky stole Sam's crown last week, so she's queen of the psychics for the month now, Becky. But,
yeah, Becky was very close to beating me the first time too.
Yeah.
I just got lucky. But last week it was a train crash for me. It just went.
It was for me with the colour guessing section. I got 2, Sam out of 10. That's all I got. But I always tell people I'm as psychic as a soggy cardboard box.
But it's all good fun.
Yeah.
It's all good fun. And you're very good at answering questions in the chat.
You're welcome, Selena.
I heard a growl. Has to be it's a Desmond.
It's a Desmond. It's my chocolate coloured Desmond. The red Desmond asleep on the sofa.
The Desmond with 4 legs.
Yeah, it's the chocolate Desmond.
Yeah. Want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. I haven't streamed in 3 weeks, and I am going. I'm going to try and get used to it. So forgive me if I missed some of the comments in the chat. I will get back to the comments in that. And thanks very much for coming on, and thanks very much, Brett, for coming on and helping me along with the chat. Because I'm sort of new to live streaming that. I have this little studio, and
you know me. I'll talk about anything paranormal.
Yeah,
and I always say to people, what I'll say is not gospel; it is just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to have a cup of tea, and then 9 o'clock it's over to Above Paranormal for the card readings. You're very, very good at doing the card readings.
I've done them for years, so.
And then
again, I always warn people with cards. I am not a psychic. That's not how they work, and it's not fortune telling as such.
Yeah.
Basically, they can give you an option of how things can go from a current position, but I always say to people, don't take them as gospel,
Yeah.
because they are just one possible path of many.
Yeah. And is Andy B coming on the chat tonight?
Hopefully, yeah. I spoke to Andy earlier. He was feeling okay earlier on because he's been ill again. But I'll just check with him in a bit. But as far as I know, yeah, he'll be coming on.
Yeah. So, folks, we're going to close up now, and hopefully, I will see you all on Above Paranormal's channel at 9 p.m.
Yeah, just over an
for
hour's time.
yeah. So, a time for have a nice cup of coffee and a few bickies.
That's what I'm just about to do, Sam. A cup of coffee and a couple of cigarettes, because I'll get parched and nicotine deprived when I read the card.
Yeah. Massive thanks, folks, and we will see you again soon. Hopefully, it's not going to be 3 weeks. We'll try and get a schedule in. We'll try and get some subjects in. We'll try and get some sort of a structure sorted out in that, and we'll see you soon, folks.
See you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.